Hello friends, this is part 30 of Angular 14 series, and in this session we'll discuss about that Angular material template driven form validation. Here is the summary today's session, that is called design form using material. As you can see in the picture, the structure design, HTML design, how form will look like, and then the prepare input model based on the API request payload. So while we save the new customer, what exactly API wants from UI side, the request payload, okay, that object will prepare. And then next is the validate form input using regex. So here you can see in the each field is showing the tick symbol, okay. So that means each form control, if it is valid, then it will show the tick control, otherwise it will throw an error, and what exactly error to be, so that also will be displayed as a hint, okay. And then disable submit button on form submit state. So here in this picture you can see that please wait, that submit button, while we click the submit button, then that submit button state will be changed with the disabled state, and the text will be changed with please wait, okay. And also in the above of this form you can see that freeloader also we are showing. That means something is processing, okay. So that indication we are acknowledging to the user. And the next thing is also this submit button will be disabled on form invalid state, okay. That means if you if any of the form control is invalid, then the button will be automatically disabled, okay. Now next thing is show loader on form submit, that is already discussed, okay. Handle exceptions on submit, which means if any exception comes in from HTTP service, then we need to handle that exception, okay. What exactly error is coming from API, that we need to show to the user, and based on that also that form should be reset as we submitted during the submit click, okay. That would be there. So these are the topics we'll cover, okay. So let's get into the code. So form time for timing, what I have done, so forms module has been created, and two components I have created, that is reactive simple form and template driven form, okay. And this is the master layout of the child component, okay. So here is the things, and if I go to the browser here, you can see this new module has been created, and the two options, template driven form and reactive form. If I select reactive simple form, that reactive simple works, and the driven form, okay, template driven. Here is now we need to design the template as we described inside this image, okay. So let's do that. So now I have designed the form. So this is the form look like, and here is the preloader I have added. And if you want to take the preloader, here is the from Angular material, there is a progress bar. Here is the component progress bar, and here you can see the undetermined progress bar. So and other progress bar also is there, so you can based on your requirement you can take this. And here is this is the required field, and I just added the required attribute from HTML5. Where is that? This one. And that is why that star mark symbol is there with red color, and it is optional, and this is also mandatory, and contact details is having 3 fields, okay. So this is pretty simple. And now if I I'll put one reference here, let's say template driven form. Here you can put your selectable name, whatever you want to like. So here I will pass one ng form, okay. So ng form reference, so ng form already, that is part of the Angular module, and this ng form instance will be stored inside this reference. And if I check the state of this form, maybe here, this template driven form and dot valid. Okay, so there this is kind of object, and this object is having invalid, valid, all the properties. Now let's save this change and see, it is showing true. So that means this form is totally valid now, because user till now didn't do anything. I mean, we didn't touch or type something, so we didn't do anything, right? So now if I change something here, now remove this, now nothing is happening, right? What you need to do, we need to prepare that model. Okay, prepare input model based on API request payload, right? Okay, so before prepare the input, what I'll do, based on this screen, that tick symbol or info icon is there, right? So that we need to do. Okay, let's do it quickly. Primary, and then if I save this change, you can see that icon, but icon won't be in the position, right position, right? So for that, here is the attribute mat as you suffix, just put that. So here now icon will be in the right place. If I mouse over on this icon, exactly what kind of data format will accept by this control, that message we need to show to the user. Okay, so to show the acknowledgement, here is the another control that is called tooltip. Okay, just go to that, but let me find it out. Tooltip, here is the tooltip, and if I mouse over on this, see, that is there, and just this attribute we need to pass. And if you want to use, so that this module has to be registered in your app module, or if you create the mat module, that in that module, right? So now if I use this one and pass, let's say first name, should this message actually I'm going to show to the user. Let's save this change. Okay, now similar way I have to do for other fields. Let me pause here. I have done for all the inputs. Here if I mouse over for middle name 3 and maximum of 20 characters. If I mouse over on this mobile number, okay, mobile number must be 10 digit positive integer number and valid Indian mobile pattern. And the landline number, it will accept like this example. And email address, yes, the email address. Okay, so what exactly what to do by the user, that is already mentioned in this form. So this is how actually we should do for the form control. Okay, so that is customizable based on the client our client requirements, so we can customize. Okay, so now maybe some of the client can ask you, okay, so I want this info icon, whatever it is, I want that should be visible once user click this input box and do something. Okay, so while user doing on this or putting any values on the input, then only this info message will be visible. Okay, so for that scenario, what to do? So let's see. First of all, to achieve that, we need to maybe we have create the model. Okay, for template driven. So for that I will create. So here is the global model I will create, because this form will be this kind of form will be used for other places, I mean this model. So here I'll do customer model.ts. okay, and here I will use export interface I customer data. Okay, so my API actually request payload actually want like this, names, and then contacts like this. Okay, so name will should contain first name, last name, type of string. Okay, for similarly let me do it quickly for contacts. So here I have created that customer data interface and also class with default value here, and let me include this model file inside this index.ts file, and let's save this change. Now come to this template driven component ts file, and here I will use one public variable that is called input model, which will be type of customer, obviously data, and here I will pass by default customer data. Okay, so I will create the instance and then I will use this customer model, and yes, here or let's names. Okay, so it is not giving that intelligence. Just reload this window by pressing Ctrl Shift P, and here is the reload window, so that you will have that intelligence. Okay, let initialize. It will take some time. Okay, so now let's put dot. Yes, first name is coming here, and then don't forget if you use the ng model, then you have to pass that use the name attribute. Okay, and then I will use here the one reference that is called maybe first name reference, and here I will assign that ng model. Okay, whatever state of this input, so that state will store inside this our model, and that model instance will be stored in this reference. Okay, now I can use this reference anywhere inside this form, right? So this mat icon, info icon, let's say star ng if, and this. Okay, so this object, basically this is kind of an object. So this object will have some of the state, like dirty, touched, or pristine, or maybe valid, and other stuffs. Okay, and the errors also. So if you want to know all the things, here you can just search. I will paste this link to the description box, and here you can see in the reactive forms and angular forms from the angular material. So here you will have all the description. Okay, so what does it mean? And also you will have other website that is called W3 schools. Here is the basics things already is there. So these are the state. Here you can see untouched, touched, input. So this is for input fields, and this is for form state. Okay, so this kind of things interviewer can ask you. Okay, so how many state of the input, form input, are there, and how many states are there for forms. Okay, so this thing just take the reference, and now I'm coming to this object will have that what we want, this touched. This touched should be, if user click on this input field, that means touched, and this input form should be dirty. That means if user touched and don't do anything, that means that form is not dirty, means something is not modified. Okay, so but if you just start typing on it, that means the dirty class will be applied. Okay, the dirty state will be come into the picture. Okay, now let's save this change. Now see in the result. Now see, first name is not showing any info icon. Now let's click and click outside, nothing is happening, right? But form, see, form got modified, something that red color indication came into the picture. Okay, so now let's try to type something. See, one moment I type, that info icon is coming. Now let's remove that info icon will be there, because we have written the condition if it is touched and dirty. Okay, now let's prove that. Okay, whether that form state is actually is reflecting or not. Okay, now let's refresh the page, and here you see by default Angular added some of the classes to this control, like here okay, so ng pristine, ng untouched, and ng invalid. Okay, that means something is not valid, right? Invalid. Now moment so there is no dirty kind of things, untouched, and untouched class is there, not touched. Okay, now if I touched, that means this is focused. Now if I type something, now see ng dirty class has added to this class. Okay, something is got changed and matte focused, and moment I click outside, see that untouched will changed with touched. Okay, so this is how there is a process by the Angular which is Angular lifecycle actually is applying on these things. So don't worry about that part. So this is how actually this form works. And now let's remove this. Now on error on this control, we need to show to the user with some hint. Okay, for that what we need to do here, I will use that one component that is called matte hint, that is also part of Angular material, and this matte hint will be available the DOM on this input if it has the or maybe invalid state. If this input form is having invalid state, then only it will be visible. Okay, and here I will use span and maybe some basic static message. Let's say if you see here, let me enter it. I have added two attribute. One is the minimum length and maximum length. Okay, these two attribute, that means which means two validation. Okay, so here what I will use star ng if, and if this form is invalid, then it must have errors. This errors object array, I mean object should be there, and this object if it is there, then I'm checking whether what kind of exactly error is coming. Okay, so now if I print this, let's print this. Okay, JSON, let's save this change so that you can understand properly. First, see, required is true. So as we have added the attribute, the required attribute for this input, so first time it is showing the required. Okay, now if I touched and click outside, nothing is happening, right? Now if I type something, see, minimum length is showing required length 3, actual length 1. Those are the things coming to this object. Okay, that means if the form is invalid, it must have the error object. Okay, so now got that part, and if it is invalid and errors, and this error should have the property first, this one, minimum length. Okay, actually I'm checking here if valid object is there, and then we should have that minimum length. Here we can see name. Okay, maybe this message I can see, I can show to the user. Now let's click. See, first I'm clicking, so it should show the first name is required. Okay, how do we achieve that? Let's, and this should be required. Just always remember this required, this one, and this minimum length is that this one. Okay, and here what is throwing an error? unexpected token something. Okay, I messed out that single quote, name left blank. Okay, now let's save this change. Yes, first time it is showing name cannot be left blank. Okay, but that is not true. I didn't touch anything. So for that scenario, here I will use if input has touched or dirty. Okay, let's say dirty means something got changed. Okay, now let's click, and outside nothing is there. Okay, so here maybe I will use touched. Okay, yes, now click and click outside. Yes, name cannot be left blank. Okay, and it must be maybe red color. Class text danger, we already have that style. Inside this style we have that text danger, text primary, and text success. Okay, now let's save this change. Yes, name cannot be left blank, something is not working properly. Let me check. Okay, so the text actually danger is there. So inside the mat form field appearance, that is something is there. Okay, so what to do then? We should use this as important. Okay, because if I use this class, other value of this color will be overridden. Okay, now click outside. Yes, it is working perfectly. Name cannot be left blank. If I type something, yes, name must have minimum of 3 characters. Yes, I'm doing that. But if I put something, yes, after 30 character, there is no chance to put by the user. Okay, so that is why other message won't be required to show here. Yes, this way. But if input is valid, then this icon should be replaced with the tick symbol. Okay, how to achieve that? Now go to the template, and one more icon I would like to use here, icon, and done. That these are the code for the material icon. If you're new on this material icon, you just go to this website fontsgoogle.com. I will paste this in the description box, and after that just go to the material icon, just select it, and here if you select any of the icon, you can search it, you can icon select, and just this copy this code. Okay, bookmark, and this is the code. Okay, and then I will use the same here, mat suffix, and then I will use the condition. Now let's copy and paste it, and this should be visible. If it is valid, then only it will be visible. Let's save this change, and let's click outside. Nothing is time. Yes, now see, yes, it is coming, but that info icon is not disappearing, as because here I have written yes. So if it is dirty, then will be visible. And one more condition, maybe we need to show, or maybe I can directly put like touched, and maybe I can tell if it is touched, and maybe invalid. Yes, it is coming. Now if I type something, yes, that icon is replacing. Now again, yes, it is working perfectly. Yes, so this way we can now do the validation, proper validation, because all we know, the validation is the crucial part of the any form control, and before saving the data to the database, we should spend some time on this validation part. Once we do the proper validation, then only everything will go smoothly. Okay, so let me quickly do that for all other inputs. I did all the validation for the inputs, and here middle name is optional, but if I do touch or do anything, then middle name must have the minimum 3 characters if you wants to put. Okay, so let me quickly put it. Yes, that is correct. And let me put the first name as well. Let's see. Yes, yes. Last name. Yes. Contact details, number. Yes. If I put the number, yes, that is true. The land number, if I don't put, I can, this is optional. Maybe I will use 033 then 259. Yes, this is valid. So this is how the validation works. So it should have that one hyphen before the std code, after the std code, and then it will check the 8 positive integer number. Okay, and then the email validation, maybe yes, gg@c. See, the email is validated, but I don't want this kind of email should be accepted by the application. Okay, so this is actually basic HTML5 email validation. That is why I have added, you can see, just come down a little bit below. Yes, so here I have added the email is true in Angular material. If you put the email equal to true, then it will apply the HTML5 email validation as we use type email. Okay, here instead of this I will use the pattern. Okay, and that pattern should be here. I have found one pattern, a basic pattern, but it should be modified maybe based on your requirement. And this is a simple straightforward email pattern. Let's save this change. And here is the good website to check every regex whether all your criteria input is matching or not. If I remove this one, see, it will show you no match, that means invalid. If I put in yes, this is valid, or if I use this org, that is also valid. Okay, so here I will paste this site information in the comment box. And now let me quickly check whether if I put this one, yes, it is invalid address. If I put this dot, yes, it is valid. Okay, so like this you can valid the input. So maybe this video will be lengthy, but it will be very helpful for you. Okay, so let me next thing is disable submit button on form invalid state. Okay, now let's go to the design. Here what I'll use, we'll use the disable attribute and template driven form, that form reference which I have added here, and that form reference. And then if this form is invalid, then only this button will be disabled. This form will be invalid when if any of the control is invalid. Okay, so now this save button is invalid. Now let me put some value here. Yes, so now actually this email pattern is not correct for every input, but yes, we can modify later on. Now this button got saved, and here we can see that true status is true. Okay, here we are printing. Let me cut this part. And yes, if I put something here, let's say this, see, form again got invalid, and that is why that button is got disabled, right? Yes, so now this way we can validate. Now next thing is show loader on form submit for savings. Okay, so now it's time to save the data. Okay, now let me open customer service we have, and let me quickly create one method. Let's say save customer. For time being, what I'm doing here, I'm replicating the similar fashion with what is called original HTTP call. Okay, here I will create the fake HTTP call. Okay, and here I'll use the return op. It will return the observable, and we'll return, let's say id is 0. Then I will use the pipe here, and I will do delay. Some delay will be there, to save. Let's imagine if I do save, then maybe HTTP will take some time to save the data, so that is why I'm just creating that situation. And then what I'll do here, I will inject customer context dot save customer. Okay, so after save customer, we are passing the input model, and also I have added this part, subscription, and to show the message I have used here mat snack bar from material library, and also one variable already I have taken that flag whether for HTTP call is happening or not. So for that part, and here I have modified something like this button will be disabled on saving form data as well. Okay, and also while saving form data, then the please wait text will be there, and save otherwise save button. Okay, and then if I open the browser, okay, now here let me put data. Now let's save this. Yes, cool, it is working as expected, right? But how do we handle the exception? So for that, what I'll do, let me replicate that exception part here as well. Pipe, and then maybe map. Okay, response. Here I will throw error. Then this message won't be here because I need to do any type. See, once you integrate with the actual HTTP call, then no need this part, and also no need explicitly convert this response to any type. Okay, no need to do that. Okay, now next, maybe in next session I will show you with the real call. Save this change. Now go to the page, and here let me fill data. Now let's save it. See, nothing is happening. Okay, because some error is there, some custom error, but our code is not able to handle. If there is the error, then that error should be visible, and this loader and please wait would be revert back to the previous state. Okay, so how to handle that? Before subscribe, what you need to do, you need to use the pipe, and here one operator is there from RSS that is called catch error, and here I will catch that error, and once catch the error, I will use throw, and whatever error is coming I will throw it for the application. And before throwing, I will use this message, and this state in a boolean flag should be as false. Okay, now let's save this change, and let me quickly do the change. Okay, now save this. Cool, some custom error, that error is coming to the screen, and that loader got hidden, and the save button is the previous state. Okay, so this is how all about that template driven form. And here you can see the lot of HTML code we have written to validate the fields to let's see, let's say this input to validate this input, we have written this bunch of code. But if we use the reactive form, how to reduce this line of code, we'll see. Okay, so next video we'll discuss same situation with the help of reactive form. Okay, so for that stay tuned and be safe. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.